During the May Day holiday, my younger brother took advantage of the crowds of people and sneaked into someone else's car. I pretended not to see anything and turned to walk away. In my past life, I stopped him. Because of that, he held a grudge against me for decades. On my 40th birthday, he laced my cake with a lethal dose of poison. He laughed viciously as he watched me spurt blood from my mouth. If it weren't for you, I'd be living like a king by now. Why did you ruin my life? Why didn't you let me get in that van? When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn and saw my younger brother sneaking into that vehicle. It was a brown van. The person inside seemed afraid of being discovered, so he dragged my brother into it. The engine roared, and the van sped off. I swallowed the hatred burning in my chest and turned away. In my previous life, I had seen this scene as soon as I came out of the house. I thought they were human traffickers trying to kidnap someone. I hurriedly shouted for help and dragged my brother towards the crowd. The scenic area was crowded, and people quickly noticed the commotion. The two people in the van had initially intended to come over and snatch him. Still, upon seeing the situation, they glared at us fiercely. Then they got in the van and fied. My parents rushed over and held us, crying in anguish. The police praised me for being vigilant, saying the people in the van were likely human traffickers. They said I had saved my brother's life. I was even given a certificate of commendation. My parents were terrified and immediately ended the trip, taking us home. My younger brother, Alaric Blackwood, stayed in his room, crying for several days. Everyone thought he was traumatized. Little did I know it was because I had ruined his big opportunity to rise. Life went on uneventfully after that. He had a smooth journey through school, exams, and graduation. He fell in love, got married, and had a lovely daughter. His career progressed smoothly, and he became a company manager within a few years. He was the model child that other relatives talked about. Everyone said that he was a blessing in disguise. In contrast, I had decades of bad luck. Nothing I did went smoothly, as if someone was constantly sabotaging me. I was framed and had a cheating note slipped into my pocket during the college entrance examination. After a 3-year ban from taking the exam, I couldn't even get into a university. Questions I used to be able to answer with my eyes closed became obscure and incomprehensible. I had no choice but to work in a factory. I had a few relationships with men I liked on and off. Alas, they all ended up breaking up suddenly, for no apparent reason. Alaric said, intentionally or unintentionally, that I had done many evil things. But when I think about it, I have never done anything evil. Later, I casually married someone. I got pregnant several times, but had several miscarriages. Alaric still said it was because I had done too many bad things, and that was why I couldn't even carry a child. When I was 38, I finally gave birth to a daughter. But it was a deformed, dead fetus. My world shattered. My husband thought I was bad luck and left me. He ran off with his mistress that very night. I completely broke down. It was on my 40th birthday when he poisoned me to death. That was when I found out the truth. Alaric contacted those people online and volunteered to be trafficked. On one condition, he had to be sent to a wealthy family with no children. The other party quickly agreed, and everything was going according to his plan. However, I ruined it all. So, he hated me so much that he wanted me to suffer for the rest of my life. The cheat note was something he slipped to me. The nerve-damaging drug was something he administered on me. Every relationship of mine was sabotaged by him. Every miscarriage was his doing. The stillbirth was the last vicious plot he used to crush me completely. He wanted to watch me fall apart, to see me broken and barely surviving. He even wanted to personally end my life. And in the end, he killed me on my 40th birthday. But heaven has given me another chance, and I am back at the exact moment when my brother was about to get kidnapped. Why is Alaric taking so long in the bathroom? Did he sneak off to buy snacks again? My parents' voices pulled me back to reality. I glanced at my watch. Only 15 minutes had passed. I volunteered to go look for my younger brother. In fact, I was wandering around to delay time, making sure that the van had gone far away. Then I hurried back. Mom and Dad, Alaric seems to be missing. I searched the entire scenic area, but couldn't find him. My mother swayed and almost fainted. My father stayed relatively calm and called the police right away. Over 20 years ago, there weren't many security cameras. All they captured was my brother leaving the restroom and walking toward a snack stall. So, the search focused on the snack stalls. Only I knew he didn't get in a car near there. He had deliberately taken a long route around the snack area and exited through the park's back gate. He did all that to avoid being found by our parents. Moreover, who would pay attention to an ordinary boy in such a crowded scenic area? A whole day passed with no news. My parents were exhausted when they got back to the hotel. I pinched myself, forcing out tears as I wailed loudly. I said it was my fault for not finding my brother. My mother hugged me tightly, heartbroken. It's not your fault, not your fault. You're all we have now, Talia. 5 days passed, and still no news. However, I had to go back to school. So, we returned home. My parents blamed themselves entirely for Alaric going missing. My mother doubled her love for Alaric and gave it all to me. My father, drowning in guilt, threw himself entirely into work. He worked day and night. Soon after, he caught the opportunity and founded a new company. In just a few short years, I became the sole heiress of the Blackwood enterprise. I was showered with love and affection. We moved from a small county town to the provincial capital. We went from living in a walk-up apartment to a 3-story villa. I often woke up laughing in the middle of the night. Alaric, I really should thank your big opportunity to rise plan. Otherwise, I would never have become a young lady of a wealthy family. As for whether Alaric became a rich kid, I have no idea. I didn't think human traffickers were so kind as to send him to a wealthy, childless family. Who knew which remote mountain village he was sent to? Meanwhile, my parents never gave up searching for Alaric. Because of this, my father was named one of the country's top 10 most inspiring entrepreneurs. Reporters kept lining up to interview him. No matter how many times he recounted the events of that day, he would always be moved to tears. Alaric's childhood photos also graced the front pages of major news outlets. I had a premonition that if Alaric wasn't dead, he would be found soon. I didn't want him to die if he just died like that. How will I get my revenge on him? Death would be too easy for him. Finally, Alaric, who had been missing for 10 years, returned. A servant led him in. The T-shirt he was wearing was dirty and greasy. His hair had not been washed for a long time and was tangled together. A long string of snot still hung from Alaric's nose and sniff. The sound echoed across the entire living room. The tears streaming down my mother's face froze for a moment. Alaric looked at the things in our house, his eyes wide with excitement. Wow! How did my family become this rich in 10 years? Mom, Dad, you guys are amazing. Wow, this thing looks expensive. Mom, can I give this to my mother? My mother's expression darkened. The first thing he did upon returning wasn't to acknowledge his biological mother. Instead, he was assessing the value of the house's contents. Perhaps sensing my mother's displeasure, Alaric cried out and threw himself into my mother's arms. Mom, you have no idea how much I've missed you these 10 years. The snot on his nose smeared onto my mother's newly tailored dress. Though it was only a fleeting moment, I saw a flash of disgust in my mother's eyes. I looked down over the upstairs railing, half smiling. Alaric's luck was truly good. Those traffickers hadn't sold him to a wealthy family after all. Instead, they sold him to a couple who couldn't have children. The couple were kind people, just not very wealthy. Alaric was furious and took it out on them. He demanded whatever he wanted, threatening suicide if they didn't comply. The couple had no choice but to spoil him rotten. In the past 2 years, the internet has gradually become more developed, and Alaric saw a news interview with my father. Only then did he realize that our family had become wealthy. So he secretly ran back here. By the time my father rushed home, Alaric was curled up on the couch playing video games, and his shoes were kicked up onto the coffee table. He was swearing loudly at the screen. "You idiot! Attack already." When he saw my father, he just said casually, "Oh hey, Dad, you're back." My father trembled with anger. He wanted to scold him, but held it in. After all, it was his first day back, not exactly the best time to bring it up. That night, my parents whispered in their bedroom, "How did Alaric turn out like this? He has no manners at all. Must have been spoiled." That couple didn't seem like bad people.
Sigh.
Let's get him into school as soon as possible. He needs some proper discipline. We can't let this go on. My parents had initially planned to hold a welcome home dinner for him the next day, but seeing Alaric's behavior, they decided to postpone it. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing. It would be a joke if my father's business partners saw him like this. During dinner that night, Alaric sobbed and sniveled, recounting how difficult his life had been in past 10 years. My mother was utterly taken aback. It was clear that he had lived quite well. He even rolled up his trouser leg to show my mother the scars from being whipped by his adoptive parents. My mother frowned, wanting to say something, but I gently shook my head. Towards the end, Alaric burst into loud cries. Snot and tears flew everywhere, making eating the food on the table impossible. Mom, Dad, you have no idea how difficult and miserable it was when I returned. That family chased after me, hitting me. It was so hard to finally escape. If that family comes looking for me in the future, you must beat them out. Huff, during the years I lived there, I developed severe depression and anxiety. Mom, Dad, I really missed you so much. Wish if I hadn't been kidnapped when I was a child, I would be a rich man like my sister now. When it came to being kidnapped, my parents' hearts softened again. They sighed and coaxed a few words. Alenk had secretly returned on his own. He didn't know that my parents had already found his former adoptive parents and given them a large sum of money, which was enough for them to live comfortably for the rest of their lives. Besides, Alaric's current demeanor didn't show any signs of depression. At night, my mother pulled me aside. "Talia, do you think Alaric is lying, or are his adoptive parents the ones being dishonest?" I smiled and said, "Mom, if he was really abused and ate rotten food, he must have a lot of health problems. Let the doctor check it out tomorrow." My mother nodded. "Talia, you're so smart, but your brother." Sigh. "Do you think Alaric should go to a prestigious private school like you, or start in a regular one to catch up first?" My father thought Alaric should go to a regular school when he returned. He'd never fit in at a private school right away. He could transfer to the private school after adjusting for a while. However, my mother thought he'd already lost so many years. He should go to a private school right away and broaden his horizons. I reached out and squeezed my mother's hand. "Mom, we should let Alaric choose for himself." Of course, I wanted Alaric to go to the private school. How else would I get my revenge? As for why I suggested letting him decide, it was because I knew him too well. He would definitely choose the private school. The next morning, my mother arranged for a family doctor to give him a complete physical examination. There was nothing wrong with him. There were no wounds from abuse. The doctor even said he ate too much meat and should cut back. My mother frowned. What about the injuries on his body? Oh, he must have fallen accidentally, but it was a new injury a week ago. My mother fell silent. Then she called in a psychiatrist to examine him for any psychological issues. The results were still negative, even though he deliberately chose the worst options for those questionnaires. The doctor wasn't a fool and wouldn't diagnose him with severe depression based solely on a piece of paper. My mother was furious. How did this child become like this? He is full of lies. I sighed.
He already spoiled like this.
Mom, we can't spoil him anymore. Otherwise, who knows what he will become? Just then, the television showed a legal channel, and the main story was about juvenile delinquents from wealthy families. My mother was terrified. She patted her chest repeatedly.
My father found out about this at night.
He grabbed his belt, ready to teach Alaric a lesson. This rebellious son, lying at such a young age without even a flicker of shame. Looks like what he's been missing for the past 10 years isn't fatherly love, but a good beating. In the end, my mother stopped him. Forget it, honey. Alaric was lost for 10 years. If he hadn't been lost, he would definitely be as obedient and lovely as Talia, right? A week later, Alaric officially started going to school with me. That day, my mother brought it up at the dinner table, but Alaric declared he wanted to go to the private school before she could even ask him. He sat in the car with his eyes shining. He licked his lips, seemingly lost in thought. My brother caused trouble as soon as we arrived at school. He whistled at a beautiful girl. He took out his phone and waggled it suggestively. Hey, gorgeous. Mind exchanging contacts? Maybe we could hang out tonight. The beauty looked at him with disgust. Then she turned and left. Alaric wouldn't let it go and blocked her path. Do you know who my dad is? Sweetheart, you should feel lucky I'm interested in you. He even reached out to grab her. Coincidentally, the girl he harassed was the daughter of my father's partner. She was also my best friend, Serena Vale. She kicked him in the back. Before he could react, I raised my hand and slapped him twice. Alaric, you are such a bastard. Alaric covered his face and shouted, Talia, how dare you hit me? It is natural for a sister to teach her brother a lesson. Is there a problem? Alaric gritted his teeth, leaping up as if to hit me. My bodyguard immediately pinned him to the ground. Realizing he couldn't win, Alaric held back his anger and spat out fiercely. Talia, just wait. I'll have Dad teach you a lesson when I get home. I raised my eyebrows. Let's see who ended up getting a lesson. Serena took my arm and fanned it in front of me with disdain. Talia, is this your brother who has been missing for 10 years? He is so uneducated. Your father is unlucky to have such a son. I smiled and said nothing. Alaric made such a scene today. I think he had become famous in school. Those who wanted to curry favor with my family through Alaric would also have to reconsider their approach. After school, the driver, Uncle Willie, waited at the door for half an hour, but did not see Alaric come out. It was his classmates who told us. He left before school was over. When I got home, Alaric had not returned home yet.
When my mother asked about him,
I heard he'd skipped out early. My mother was so angry that she clutched her chest. My father directly smashed several vases. My heart ached for the vases. Each one cost tens of thousands. His phone was also turned off. Alaric had disappeared again. My mother was so worried that she cried. She grabbed my father's sleeve. Honey, do you think Alaric has been taken away by human traffickers again? My father's expression was grave, seemingly contemplating the possibility. It wasn't until 8 in the evening that Alaric finally strolled home. He reeked of alcohol, and his face was flushed. My father gritted his teeth and roared. Neil, where have you been fooling around? Alaric was stunned, tears starting to flow. They fell to the ground with a clatter.
Mom, Dad, what is this?
I just got home, and instead of asking if I'm okay, you tell me to kneel? I'm severely depressed. Aren't you even worried I might kill myself? You're covered in alcohol. What is there for us to be concerned about? My father's anger hadn't subsided. Then I'll give you a chance. Explain it well. Alaric shot me a resentful glare, pointing at me. It's Talia.
Mom, Dad.
You have no idea how awful Talia is. Today, in front of so many people at the school gate, she hit me. She made me lose so much face. How am I supposed to go on living? The only reason I drank was to drown my sorrows. If it weren't for the comfort of alcohol, you probably wouldn't even see this son of yours anymore. My mother looked at me, her voice trembling slightly. Talia, did you really hit your brother in front of so many people? I picked up my teacup, took a sip, and nodded without changing my expression. Yes, I hit him. My mother was shocked and blamed me, but she couldn't bear to scold me. She said softly, Talia, if your brother did something wrong, you can talk to him properly. It's wrong to hit him. How can your brother survive in school like this? I put down my teacup and sat up straight. I looked at my parents seriously. Mom and Dad, my brother must be beaten for what he did today. I told my parents everything that happened this morning. My father's face turned pale instantly. Alaric still hadn't grasped the severity of the situation. He snorted coldly. So, even if that's true, does it justify hitting someone in public? Mom and Dad, I was abused since I was a child and never liked girls. I fell in love with the girl named Serena today, at first sight. What's wrong with expressing love to the girl you love? We are all rich and powerful. I will get married sooner or later, right? It's better for me to marry her and join forces. And I think Serena is also interested in me. If Talia hadn't stopped me, I would have taken her down in less than 2 days.
Slap.
Before he could finish speaking, Alaric was slammed to the ground. My father's hand was still raised in the air. You bastard! Shut your damn mouth. The Vale family was my father's business partners. They were also his clients. There were several massive projects worth hundreds of millions on the line. If Alaric, this beast, messed it up, I thought my father would cut him into pieces. Alaric was dumbfounded. He was just about to start yelling. But he didn't dare move when he met my father's fiery gaze. He could only look at my mother with a pleading expression. Mom, save me. You lost me for 10 years and now you treat me like this? Boo-hoo. My mother was so mad that she swayed and nearly fainted. Honey, quick, take this ungrateful brat to the Vallas and apologize. My father grabbed him by the collar, belt in hand, and told Uncle Willie to drive to the Vale family residence. I poured a glass of water for my mother and helped calm her down. Mom, Alaric really needs a good lesson. She nodded heavily, gripping my hand. Talia, thank goodness we have you. You did the right thing by hitting him today. If he really did something to Serena, I dare not think. 2 hours later, my father returned with a wailing Alaric. His backside was beaten so badly. There was still resentment in his eyes.
Still, he didn't dare make a peep.
The next day, a video of Alaric getting beaten at the Vallas residence started spreading all over the school. It showed Alaric kneeling in the Vallas' living room. He cried as he apologized to Serena. My father held a whip and lashed it down on him again and again, not holding back at all. Each strike left a red welt. The students were in an uproar. They also understood my family's attitude towards Alaric. There was no shortage of people in school who would suck up to the powerful and step on the weak, wanting to curry favor with wealthy families. I thought Alaric's time at school would definitely be interesting. A week later, Alaric's injuries were almost healed. To show that he wanted to break away from me, he demanded that his parents find a separate driver to take him to school. The last incident had barely passed, and now he wanted his own driver? My parents flatly refused. They told him he could take a taxi if he didn't want to go with me. Alaric had $200,000 in pocket money each month. He directly hired a car to pick him up and drop him off. He was incredibly smug. Let him gloat. It wouldn't last long. When he arrived at school, he noticed people were acting differently. Some looked down on him, some pitied him, and some just looked like they were waiting for the show to start. Still, he didn't care. He figured no one could touch him, and our parents supported him. And of course, he hadn't changed one bit. Just a few days after returning to school, he offended another tall beauty. This time, Alaric learned his lesson. He inquired about the girl's family background beforehand. A small, insignificant family wasn't something to fear. Moreover, they had no business dealings with our family.
He felt relieved.
After school, he didn't offer to walk her home, but instead tried to take her to a hotel.
He was so bold.
He even said that if she went along with him, he would give her $20,000 a month to spend freely. Fortunately, the girl was quick-witted and called the police when Alaric wasn't paying attention. Now things were a mess, and they went straight to the police station. My father was so angry that he almost had a heart attack. He made Alaric kneel outside the door all night. This time, Alaric hadn't provoked just anyone, but the school beauty. Although she didn't have a family background, she had countless admirers. I figured they would take good care of Alaric. Alaric had become entirely the school's public enemy. That day during break, I saw a few boys drag Alaric to the back hills of the school. When he saw me, he yelled loudly for me to save him. The boys stopped what they were doing and turned to explain to me, "Talia, this isn't our fault. He wrote disgusting stuff to harass my sister." He tossed me an envelope. It was covered in vulgar and filthy words. "You tell us, doesn't he deserve a good lesson?" I pretended to be shocked. "Alaric, how could you write such things to harass a female classmate? Mom and Dad would be so upset if they knew." Alaric shrieked, "This isn't me. I didn't write any of this. Talia, I'm your own brother. You can't just leave me to this." I shrugged and stuffed the letter back into the guy's hand. If it's my brother's fault, he must be taught a lesson. I'll leave him to you. Truthfully, I could tell right away that the handwriting wasn't Alaric's. Still, that didn't matter. Any excuse to teach him a lesson would do. Alaric was beaten into a swollen mess and limped home. The moment he saw our mother, he started crying about how the people at school were bullying him. He pointed at me, tears streaming down his face. Especially her. Mom. Talia saw everything and didn't even try to help me. Our mother was already exhausted and didn't even want to ask any more questions. She waved her hand, telling Alaric to go to sleep. But he insisted on clinging to her, wanting her to stand up for him. I told my mother what was written in the letter. Slap. Several red finger marks instantly appeared on Alaric's face.
"Mom,
You don't believe me either? I swear I didn't write any of that stuff. Did Alaric have any credibility left?"
none."
My mother glared at him. "We sent you there to study properly. How can your head be filled with such things? What exactly are you trying to do? If you don't want your dad to find out, you'll return to your room and sleep right now." Mentioning our father made Alaric tremble. He scurried back to his room. I watched his retreating figure with a cold smile. That was all he deserved, after being taken care of by his classmates a few more times. Alaric wised up. Anyway, our family was wealthy. It wouldn't matter if he didn't study. So he started arriving late, leaving early, and even skipping classes. The teacher called our parents many times. But Alaric was fearless. He would just shrug it off when someone asked, "Everyone in school hates me, why should I go to school?" Besides, I am like this because of you. If you hadn't lost me, would I be like this? He even learned to use emotional blackmail. Every time he said this, our parents' anger would be reduced by half. After all, it was the source of their guilt. They blamed themselves all the time. Why did they lose Alaric? Why didn't they take good care of Alaric at the beginning? Seeing our parents like this, Alaric became more unscrupulous. Later, he didn't even go to school. He started hanging out with shady characters, smoking, drinking, fighting, and flirting with pretty girls. Our parents finally couldn't take it anymore. They pulled him aside for a serious talk. He casually tossed his shoes onto the sofa and lit a cigarette. I tell you, you are the ones who made me like this. What? You hate me now? Fine, then just throw me away again. Anyway, the famous Mr. Blackwood doesn't need a son. Many people are dying to be your son. He narrowed his eyes and blew a puff of smoke at my father. Say something, my good father. Just one word from you, and I'll leave right now. But you must always remember, you were the ones who lost me back then, and now you're the ones throwing me away. He had grasped entirely our parents' weakness. Seeing that they remained silent, their eyes filled with guilt, Alaric spoke again. If you don't want me to leave, then you'd better take good care of me. Not a single penny less than what I deserve. Keep this in mind. This is your karma, your punishment for all the evil you've done. A shiver ran down my spine. In a daze, I seemed to see Alaric from my past life. He used the same tone, the same expression, saying the exact words. Talia, having a deformed baby was your karma. You've done too much evil. It seemed that trying to let Alaric destroy himself wouldn't work. Wasn't money the most important thing to Alaric? Then I'd make sure he didn't get a single cent. I sent people to secretly film Alaric's thug-like behavior. They sent the videos and photos to my mother. The more my mother watched, the paler her face became. Finally, she slammed the photos onto the table. That ungrateful brat. He's going to be the death of me. By the end, she was in tears. What did I do to deserve this? I can't hit him. I can't yell at him. What am I supposed to do? I gently patted her shoulder to comfort her. Mom, I brought a girl home today. You should hear what she has to say. The girl knelt as soon as she entered the door, crying. Ma'am, please stand up for me. She listed a bunch of Alaric's crimes. He'd used her sick father, who was in the hospital, to force her into staying with him. If she disagreed, he threatened to have his men drive her father out of the hospital, ensuring no doctor in the city would dare to take him in. Ma'am, is the Blackwood family really this powerful? Do ordinary people like us not even have the right to live? She rolled up her sleeves, revealing her body covered with scars from various instruments. Alaric doesn't treat me as a human being at all. If Miss Blackwood hadn't taken the initiative to find me, I might have died. Thick bandages were wrapped around her wrists. When I found her, she was about to commit suicide. After seeing the girl off, my mother's eyes rolled back and she fainted. Alaric disregarded the law, arrogant and completely unrestrained. She understood that if she let Alaric go on like this, our family would be finished sooner or later. The Blackwood enterprise, built up over the past decade, would be destroyed by Alaric's hands. That very night, she told my father everything. They both decided to cut off all of Alaric's living expenses. That would continue until he returned to being a normal, well-behaved child. As for the young woman, I transferred her father to the Blackwoods' private hospital. All expenses were waived. The next day, Alaric stormed back home, furious and looking for trouble with me. He kicked open my bedroom door, leaning insolently against the frame. A cigarette dangled from his lips as he cursed. Talia, you shameless bitch. You think you can touch my girl? Damn it. I'm giving you one day. Get her dad out of that hospital. I slowly stood up, looking at him with a mocking smile. I won't. What are you going to do about it? Damn it, you're really asking for it. Believe me, I'll beat you to death. Even if you don't get her father out, I have 1,000 ways to make her life a living hell. He flicked the cigarette butt onto my bed, clenched his fist, and lunged at me. Our parents weren't home. He had wanted to vent his resentment from all these years for a long time. It was too bad for him. After returning that year, I pestered our parents to enroll me in a kickboxing class. I cracked my knuckles, finally getting a chance to practice. I threw a punch at his right cheek. Grabbing his arm, I executed an over, the shoulder throw. A howl of pain echoed through the entire villa. Alaric's arm was broken. Was that all he's got?
He's so weak.
Unfortunately, I wasn't satisfied yet. I straddled him, landing punch after punch on his face. Alaric, you owe me this in your last life. Alaric was terrified and screamed for mercy. Talia, I was wrong. Stop hitting me, you're going to kill me. His cries faded into silence. It wasn't until the servants held me back that I snapped out of it. Alaric's face was soaked in blood. I had knocked him unconscious. Useless piece of trash. After understanding what had happened, my parents not only didn't scold me, but actually praised me for doing a good job. That beast Alaric simply lacked a proper, loving education. That very night, my parents cut off all his credit cards. When Alaric woke up, he tried to emotionally blackmail my parents like before. This time, they were unmoved. Alaric, it's precisely because you weren't properly taught these past 10 years that you've become like this. If we continue to indulge you, we'll only harm you further. Alaric sneered. What's wrong? You're disgusted with me now? Then just throw me away. You already threw me away once 10 years ago, anyway. My father sat expressionlessly in his chair, his voice calm. You don't need to try to provoke us with those words. Before you learn to behave, you won't get a single penny from us. My mother seized the opportunity to speak. If you want to study, we can also send you back to school. Alaric was stunned, but in the next second, his eyes darted around. Fine, I can study. You guys send me abroad. I want to study overseas. My parents weren't stupid. What about going abroad if he could be so lawless in this country? He'd probably start acting like he was royalty. My father stood up and brushed off his clothes. All right, if you don't want to study, fine. Just stay in the hospital. After returning home, my mother held my swollen hand with a broken heart. Oh dear, my Talia, look how swollen your hand is. Promise me next time you won't teach this bastard a lesson directly. Use tools instead. I laughed, and then I started crying. Alaric didn't stop causing trouble, even in the hospital. He would pull out his 4 lines and threaten to jump off the building. He also threw tantrums at the nurse's station. Or he would just hurl insults at the doctors. He seemed to want to use these methods to make my parents distressed. The medical staff were suffering, but since he was the son of the Blackwood family, they dared not speak out. Alaric was staying on the 2nd floor, and there were still dense bushes below. He probably wouldn't even break a bone. He was quite afraid of death after all. But if he hadn't pulled the stunt, I really wouldn't have found a reason to send him to that disciplinary academy. It was a good place I had painstakingly found for him. That night, I suggested to my parents that we send Alaric there. I even showed them case after case of how even the worst people became obedient and polite after going in. My parents waved their hands dismissively. We can't control him anymore. Just send him. I immediately called the head of the institution. They were in another region and said they could pick him up in 2 days. After hanging up the phone, I almost laughed out loud. Was that even a place for humans?
No.
Disobedience meant electric shocks, humiliation therapy, and obedience training. There were countless methods. 2 days later, The person in charge even came to the hospital to assess Alaric. Alaric spat right in the person's face. Who are you to evaluate me? I'm going to kill you after I leave the hospital.
Mom, Dad.
This is who I am. If you have the guts, kill me. Otherwise, I'll never change. Anyway, you abandoning me 10 years ago was the same as killing me. If you want to quell my anger, give me 10 million. My parents shook their heads and left. The person in charge of the evaluation sneered. Mr. Blackwood, your son is too rebellious. He probably won't be able to stay for a year. He has to stay for 3 years. Alaric was still cursing when he was taken to the car. Let me tell you, do you think I will change if you send me away? Beat me to death if you have the guts. None of you in the Blackwood family are a good person. Why did you look for me in the first place if you didn't want to take me home? You are all stupid bastards. After Alaric was taken away, the house was finally quiet. I also had time to calm down and do what I should do. The Vallas still gave several projects to my family. Life returned to normal. Of course, I always remember my good brother. Half a year later, I visited the disciplinary academy to see him once. He lost a lot of weight, but his temper had not changed. He looked at me and cursed. Talia, do you know what this place is? Do you know how they treated me? I tell you, I will definitely kill you when I get out. I want you to be 10,000 times more miserable than I am now. The administrator came over with a smile and Alaric was instantly silent. Miss Blackwood, please rest assured, our institution is completely legitimate and would never use inhumane methods. I frowned and asked deliberately, can you do this? Why is my brother still like this after half a year? We paid so much tuition, but we can't see any effect. If you can't do it, tell me earlier and I'll find a new place. The administrator's expression changed, and he glared fiercely at Alaric. Alaric shrank back slightly. Miss Blackwood, please be assured that your brother will definitely be obedient the next time you visit. I nodded. Next time I come, I don't want to be disappointed again. I hadn't taken 2 steps after turning around, when Alaric lunged forward and grabbed my leg. He seemed genuinely scared. His voice was trembling. Talia, I was really wrong. I was wrong. Please take me out of here, okay? I was really wrong. When I return, I'll listen to you and do whatever you say. The bodyguard pried Alaric's hands off me. I turned and smiled at him. Alaric, lying isn't right, you know. You were just threatening to make my life a living hell. Sir, how come you still haven't corrected his lying nature? The administrator kept bowing and apologizing to me. He said it was their negligence, and they would definitely discipline him properly. Watching Alaric's face grow paler and paler, I left feeling satisfied. Half a year later, I started an internship at my family's company. I followed my father to learn and gain experience. When I went on a business trip, I visited the disciplinary academy again. Alaric had changed entirely. His eyes were dull and lifeless, and even the slightest sound could make him tremble. I rubbed my chin thoughtfully. Wasn't this how I looked in my past life? After giving birth to a deformed stillborn baby, I had a mental breakdown. I was in a daze every day. I walked over and saw Alaric curled up in a ball. Don't hit me, don't hit me. I kicked him. Alaric, are you stupid? I'm your sister. Sister? Talia. He burst into tears. Talia, please take me away, take me away. The administrator walked in from the door. I squatted down and asked softly, what's wrong, Alaric? Are you not living well here? He wanted to say something, but when he saw that the administrator was here with me, he changed his tone again. No. Talia, I am living well here. The administrators and instructors are very good to me. The food is fresh every day. I nodded and stood up. That's good. You still have 2 years left here. I'll come to pick you up when you're done. You were crying so hard just now. I thought you were having a hard time. The administrator's face immediately sank. A year passed peaceful. I took over half of my father's company. I have a strong sense of learning and management abilities. My father was very relieved and took my mother out for a trip. Before leaving, he thought of Alaric. Talia, how is Alaric in school? I heard that you visited him several times before. I smiled sweetly. Very good. He said he eats well and sleeps well in there, and the instructors and teachers treat him very well. My father nodded. That's fine, but I don't know if being too nice to him will change his personality. You'll know when the time comes. However, my father reminded me, it's time to go see Alaric. In total, he still had 3 months to finish. This time, Alaric became very obedient. When I arrived, he knelt to wipe my shoes and pour tea for me. He looked at me expectantly. Talia, are you here to pick me up? I gave a half smile. Do you really want to go back? He nodded violently. I leaned close to his ear and said in a voice that only he and I could hear, Alaric, do you regret sneaking into someone else's car more than 10 years ago? His pupils shrank suddenly, and he stared at me. Talia, you saw it. I took a sip of tea and leaned back in the chair. Of course, it was a brown van. You walked up by yourself and smiled happily. He punched the ground and blood oozed from his knuckles. Then why didn't you stop me? Stop you? Why should I stop you? Isn't that your big opportunity to rise? But I have to thank you very much. Without you, I wouldn't have become the heiress of the Blackwood family. Alaric's eyes were bloodshot. He wanted to get angry, but didn't dare to. I patted him on the shoulder, smiled, and left. 3 months later, my parents personally went to pick up Alaric. He behaved very well and was very obedient. My parents praised him. I watched him, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. I knew that Alaric already hated me and was waiting for an opportunity. My parents restored his living expenses. Unlike before, he didn't squander money everywhere but was frugal in every way. This broke my parent hearts. They thought he had really become sensible. Finally, Alaric found his chance. 2 months later, my parents went to a banquet, leaving only me and Alaric at home. In the middle of the night, he secretly started a fire, burning the villa to the ground. When my parents rushed back, the fire was raging. I was nowhere to be seen, and my mother fainted on the spot. Alaric thought I had died in the fire and was overjoyed. Only after the firefighters had extinguished the fire entirely did I arrive late. I was holding a video of Alaric starting the fire. Mom, I don't know why Alaric hates me so much that he wants me dead. Sob, sob, sob. I threw myself into my mother's arms. Alaric completely lost it. Talia, you deliberately framed me. Why aren't you dead? I wouldn't have been lost if it weren't for you back then. It's all your fault. You deserve to die. I wiped my tears. Alaric has gone crazy. My parents were thoroughly disappointed in him and sent him to a mental hospital. I instructed the nurses to take good care of him. A year later, I officially took over the Blackwood enterprise. The mental hospital called to tell me that Alaric wanted to see me. When I saw him, his eyes had changed. They were exactly the same as they had been in my past life. Talia, you're really something. You should have stopped me, so why didn't you? As expected, just as I thought, Alaric remembered his past life's events. I smiled slightly. What? Stop you and let you ruin my life, like you did in my past life. I ignored his shocked expression and turned to leave. Alaric is having another episode. Increase his dosage.
The end.
Thank you for watching our video. For more amazing stories, make sure to subscribe to our channel.